Hello, everyone, Internet, and thanks for tuning in. I am RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I'm Dragon Zeron of the Tokusatsu Media Center.
Kiramager! This general Toku news, before we kick into Kiramager, is people might have heard about the status unknown of the broadcasting for the month of May. Have you heard about this?
Yep, it's unknown now. They changed it from like a listing to unknown, so we don't know how long they will be able to do it. They did say they go through halfway through June. And
I think it's different. I mean, even for the Toei 2, it is different shows, different amounts of recordings they've done. They've mentioned a whole list of shows in the TV guides that they release. I mean, we don't use TV guides over here anymore. But in the TV guides, they gave a whole list of shows, including Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. That's Zeron and Kiramager. The whole list of shows that are in broadcast status unknown. And then, a lot of this they did mention for Sentai specifically was after, at some point after Kiramager Red was diagnosed, and then when he came out. But there's also a little bit of confusion because obviously they've released a promotional material for
the Silver Ranger.
Yeah. And then for Kamen Rider 01, they have said roughly around May, June as like whether they're actually going to show everything they've got or whether they're just going to have a cut off and then keep some episodes in storage until after they resume recording. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of unknown, but it also means that our episodes are going to be fewer and far further between. I mean, well, if people are really that bored, you can tune into my channel, RyuKiva Toku, where I'm still going 3 episodes a week.
And I'm also going to be uploading music, so you guys should check it out as well. And I got some new records coming in. So.
You mentioned, what were the records you had?
So basically, I got 2 Ultraman series stuff coming in. But the people haven't shipped out yet because this past week was Golden Week, which is basically in Japan. It's basically the week that Japan has off, and like it's the only week in like all year that they have off.
I think I remember hearing something about that last year. But in terms of Japanese culture, we will be touching on that when we talk about episode 9. But
yeah, it's actually a very hardcore.
Let's kick straight on with episode 7. So, I'm going to start off with the description. So, we've got our Kiramager Red, Juru. He's been pushed to train and be a better leader by the other 4 who have like expertise in different fields. And this gets to a point where it tires him out, but then he literally passes out in Kiramager. And we got to see a preview of that mecha that was going to appear in the following episode. I mean, bearing in mind 7 and 8 was a 2-parter, so fair enough.
Well, yeah, that's where we saw it.
Okay, what can you remember about specifically episode 7?
Basically, we see 2 brothers, the Domajin or whatever they call the monsters.
I think the Yodon, or like...
Yeah, the Yodon,
or something, yeah.
Like, there's the fire oven, I think, and then there's the freezer.
Yeah.
And they're basically
bit cliche, but it's still good storytelling.
What I remember, okay, these 2 characters kind of remind me of I'm Mr. Cold Master, I'm Mr. Cold down the... You know that song?
No.
It's from Runkin' and Bass show, like, I don't know, 40 years ago, and that was one of the characters and whatnot. It's pretty funny.
This is Toku and Sentai, right? You're talking about?
Yeah. I was making a reference to them. I think they were
this is it. This is why you're so good on your show of Sentai. But still, I mean, as I was saying, like, it is a typical trope. It's a typical cliche. But like, my point I'm gonna make is that we got to now the uncle's name that I keep forgetting. His name is Galza. So I did look that up.
Yeah.
So Galza, we got to really see how he operates. His mentality operates. We saw him operate as seeing it from the younger brother's point of view, which I was with, but then he kind of turns on the younger brother and sides with the older brother in the end, and then he kind of talks about the power and stuff, and like we really see this psychotic nature to him. And there's so much going on with Uncle Galza, it's unbelievable. Any more thoughts on episode 7 before we talk about episode 8?
I like how like the catchphrase or like the thing that pisses him off is like would you help somebody without even thinking or something? That was actually a pretty interesting thing. Like like
I'm trying to think. Was that episode 8?
no, it's the end of 7.
Okay, no, because I do remember. I do.
Because when he was in the
Talking
sky,
about-
he was like basically, or no, when he was in the mecha, basically he said something on the lines of that, and that like he was like, oh god, it's my brother's taking over Jewel. That's his like embodiment, and it worked. So,
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, okay,
So.
incorporating episode 8 as the two-parter. I mean, I did, so kicking straight off with episode 8, the one thing that I really enjoyed about this particular episode, I mean, just to summarize it, we do actually get to see the mecha. I believe it's called the King Express.
King
Yeah,
Express.
I think it's called the King Express. But like we get to see Juru like imagine up a train from the train station where, like again, it becomes a little bit complicated where there was the big white crystal that Mabushina has a portion of, but they were keeping the rest of it in some train station or something, and then they kind of go there. He makes a train out of it, and then we get and then we get to see like the King Express, with the dinosaur thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and that was pretty cool. I'm pretty happy that they finally did something with the dinosaur, and I like how Garza.
To be fair, like I personally, like doing, looking at all the magazine scans and previews and that, even before the Dino Train appeared, like I think literally the following day after I saw it appeared, I saw that it was going to gatai with something else anyway. I mean, to me, it's still right. So even though you mentioned this earlier, it still looks really cool. And I got vibes from Tetra Boy from Jetman, the punching thing from O Ranger,
And Live Boxer from Live Man.
I've not seen the show. I've not seen the show of Sentai, but I also get like a touch of vibes from the Ninja Aka Ninjas kind of ninja robot.
Oh, like the mini robot, yeah.
Yeah. So like, especially like especially like where I know Tetra Boy from Jetman. The way he moves is just very much like that.
I wonder if they actually might have gotten somebody from the 90s to direct that episode.
I have no idea, but just like that, it's like, again, I can see the retro vibe of this little Imagine Express thing.
It's kind of like how they do the monster.
It definitely looks cool, like especially like the white on black, but then the thing, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense that you've got Juru making a train that then gatires with Galza's train, which is still supposed to be like evil, even though
I like how he just
even though they established that he took that train from the king. So it kind of,
it's like he made the train his bitch.
Kind of, I guess so. I mean,
because he ends up using a dinosaur
but specifically in this episode, the one thing I do like is prior to him making the express train, is you get to see Drew have like a sort of exchange with the king, which I thought was actually quite interesting.
So I think he might have what does that mean? Where they merge with the person or something, or like
well, it was a dream state. It was a dream state because remember, Juru had passed out and he was basically hallucinating, and he was having a conversation with the king, which is like, it's a bit. I mean, even for Sentai, it kind of steps out the cliche a little bit, and it becomes quite interesting. I mean, it's cliche in a lot of respects, just generally across any fiction. But I think for Kiramager, it just kind of really accented the fact that this is where his power is. And then it's like, we didn't, like touching on the themes from episode 7. Like, you got to see at the beginning of episode 8 the red crystal chastising the other 4 for going on Juru, and you can't, even though they were acting like all big in episode 7, it's like you really get to see them sort of cowering in episode 8.
I like how he just like near the end of the thing, he basically been like, "You guys should have never done that stuff to me. You guys effed up."
But then he gave them props because he passed out. But the thing is, just to touch on this before we go on to episode 9, like, I actually felt that, there were so many different types of lessons that episode 8 could have taught. I'm not too sure what lesson he was teaching. I mean, because, like, especially when he has that conversation with the king in his hallucination, it's like, oh, yeah, I always worked hard, I always overworked myself, and, working hard is always a good thing because I had to please the people. And then they kind of touched on Galza taking advantage of his fatigue, but then it's like, he's like, oh, well, actually, I didn't like you pushing me, but then you did push me to pass out, but then when I passed out, I made this train, and that's all right then. Which I'm like, what are you actually trying to teach people here? It's neither here nor there, really. Any your thoughts before we go into episode 9?
They was a good first arc. Like, I do wish we get more arcs like this. Maybe explore Garza.
I did like it. Yeah.
Like, I do think we should get an arc where Garza, like, what made him become so evil and why did he want...
I think they'll go into that, in my opinion, because this Galza character is really interesting, in my opinion.
And same with that guy who had like a half-human face or something.
We'll talk about him at the end. But yeah, I actually like Carantula. So, going on to episode 9 now, this is like a little bit of a filler episode in my opinion, but I actually did genuinely enjoy it. I learnt from it and I got a bit of a cultural lesson from it. So,
same here.
So do you want to try to summarise this one this time?
Yeah, basically, the Green Ranger, the Speedstar, she basically meets her old opponent, Hakunin, or
Makino, I think her name is.
Yeah, or what's it called? The
Karuta.
The card game.
Hakunin. Yeah,
Karuta, and basically they were opponents, and she basically told Machina, "Hey, you left, so I took over as the reigning champion," and therefore she basically had to realize, okay, sometimes speed could be worse, or sometimes speed could be bad, and it's pretty interesting to see her contradicting her, like, her being very fast and whatnot with being very slow, and like it's pretty interesting to see that.
I mean, when it comes to like this side story, I mean, it had like a lot of aesthetic. I mean, again, apart from us gaijin, us foreigners, learning something really good about Japanese culture and this whole tradition of karuta, and learning like 100 verses to a poem. I mean, I'll be surprised if any Westerner can do that. And I'm talking about myself here, so I barely for anything. But I'd say it was a very good lesson in culture. It was also like a very interesting game to learn about. The one thing that I will criticise kind of in terms of lesson teaching is like, they talk about, like Green Ranger. They talk about Kiramai Green having left this game because she kept losing to her friend's rival. But then, at the end, she's like, oh yeah, we should play more. But I doubt very much that we'll see Kiramai Green playing this game again. Even if we got to learn about it. But what would be really good is if we did see her occasionally play this game. So it's like, all right, she left it because she kept getting beat by her friends. So she ran off, started doing sprinting instead. Try not to run away, try to actually master something. That would be a pretty good lesson to teach. But at the moment where it stands, it's more like, oh, you weren't good at something, you left it. So it'll be quite interesting to see if they do progress with that.
Like, I do hope they build upon these characters, I would like to see more...
I mean, it'd be a good opportunity specifically for Green from this episode 9, but again, I'll be honest, in Sentai tradition, it's unlikely, and that's just my opinion. But talking about the aesthetics of the episode, and we got to see the Express thing, the King Express thing again, and it's kind of like, it becomes a bit lazy in its writing, where it's like, Gal's just like, oh, alright, I'm gonna just let Kiramai Red do this. He's just sat there in his mecha that he's supposed to be using for destruction. Just saying...
I kind of laughed my ass off when that happened. I was like...
I mean, it's amusing, but I'm like, but it doesn't make sense.
I feel like eventually he will turn good. I think something will happen like in episode 20
I reckon it'll be a bit cliche and predictable, but we'll just have to see how it goes, but who knows. All right, so a couple more bits before we wrap up. So we saw the episode 10 preview. Did you take note?
Not really. I just
Right,
had to.
so I think we're in for another filler, also another love interest, specifically for Kiramai Blue. I think that's the episode that we're getting tomorrow. A character you mentioned earlier that we haven't really talked about, but I think is quite an interesting character to look at. So what do you think? So again, it's the character, the general with like a red head with
And with the facial figure, like,
yeah, the name's Carantula, and again, I did look that up. So what do you think of this character so far?
he has potential, but right now, all we're seeing him is
It's more
basically
behind
be a
Galza.
yeah, like he's like a small fight. He's like, oh, man, man, man. Garza, if you don't do this, we can't get negative energy. We can't do this.
Well, I mean, you've always got that cliche general, well, the cliche commander that does that anyway. I mean, like, for me, I'm liking just the general aesthetic and the fact that, yeah, when you look at recent, like most Sentai villains these days, they try not to have, like, a sort of mouth moving or, like, semi
I kind of like this.
face
Like,
just because of the American adaptation or the PR adaptation. So the fact that we've got this kind of villain looking like that with that kind of aesthetic look with like half a human mouth kind of gives it a better aesthetic look because again they really steered away from I mean again like I can't even think of one villain apart from when they do the human form thing, but the general forms is normally like complete monster face, complete kaiju. At least with this one you can see like part of a human feature, which isn't just arms and legs.
I don't know if it's actually the voice actor playing him or just a suit actor playing him.
Either way, it looks good, and I think that'd be quite. I reckon it must be that the person who's voicing must be acting as well.
Like I don't know, man. It kind of looks weird. Like sometimes I do see some.
It looks good. I think it looks.
Yeah. It does look good, and I'm happy that they brought it back to facial figures. That means we could have more expression with the monsters,
Sure.
So.
Well, on our next episode, we will actually talk about the Emperor himself. But just to wrap up, you can talk about NoB.
Yeah, basically, I might try to get this one concert tonight. I don't know what time it starts, but like basically, my friend from Japan. Radoneki is his name. He basically was like, yo, you should try to come in and watch it. And like, the thing is, it costs $25. So I'm like, I did spend a lot of money on my records. So I'm like, I don't know if I should spend the $25 or should I do it or not?
If you can do it, do it. But like, is it like one of these concerts that a lot of people have been doing where it's just them in their living room, or are they going to?
I think so.
Or a recording studio.
I think he's going to be at a bar and like nobody's going to be there. It's going to be all online.
Okay.
It'll be pretty interesting to see NoB. I'm going to request.
I mean, is it specifically on the YouTube channel or something?
Yep. Yeah, but not his YouTube channel, I don't think. I think you have to get a link to it or something.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up the episode. Again, so just to go over my boy over here is Dragon Zeron. Right, have I pressed the wrong button? No, correct button. So my boy Dragon Zeron's at Twitter at DragonZeron71, but he's also on Patreon, YouTube, and Instagram. Yeah. Then there's our channel. Obviously, this is this YouTube channel, but we are Twitter at Toku Bros 71. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And finally, myself, RyuKiva Toku, where I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and my blog fan sub site is ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.